What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the house of Dulo. Welcome to my garage. Glad to have you as always. Just doing a little cleanup here. So I'm back here working on project EgoBruise. This is our 1979 EcoBoost Coupe project. We'll be receiving a 2.3 EcoBoost from a 2015 Mustang. If you haven't watched the last video we pulled the engine, and right now I am in a disassembly state, and we're going to be 100% focusing on just the engine bay and cleaning it up. I'm going to show you guys right now why it needs a lot of work. All right, come on in the garage with me, guys. Let me show you everything I've done. Okay, so right off the bat, clearly you've seen here that the fender's removed, the front bumper is removed. Now guys, the way to remove these things is actually really easy. Unplug all your lights, unplug the headlights, unplug the side markers, and unplug the turn signals just by reaching in. Now the first thing you have to do is remove the fender liners. The fender liners are a pain in the butt. I probably should have done a video on just how to do that alone, but remove the fender liners. You've got screws up along the inner fender, and you've got some screws coming along the bottom here and along the bottom of your passenger or your driver's and passenger door fenders down the bottom there, and then you just have to finagle it out, and it takes a while. But once you get those out, you got access to everything you need to start doing a wire tuck, which we'll be going extensively through, and we'll also be doing relocation smoothing of all this stuff. But that was essential. So I first removed the inner fender liners, and then to remove the front bumper, it's actually a lot easier than it looks. You've got 4 screws down here on the bottom. It's actually really simple. You've got 6 along the side of your fender, so that actually bolts up to the fender itself. You've got 2 here on the headlight buckets on each side, and of course you unplug all the electrical connections. Then you have to unbolt the 2 fender supports, the elbow-shaped brackets to go from here and here. So I went ahead and removed and bagged and tagged those. And there's a single nut that goes right here to your hood latch. So you've got essentially 3 up top here. Once those are unscrewed, you can now pull the whole front bumper out. Removing the fender is just that easy. You remove all your top bolts. There's 1 screw here that you have to get from opening the door, and 1 down here. Oh, goes here on the bottom, right there. You can see that's been bent. And you've got 1 right here, and like I said, along the screws that you remove first to get the bumper out, and the fenders just come right off. So I went ahead and removed the fender, and took the time to remove the antenna as well. And before I kind of go over this mess here, I do want to also show you that is absolutely critical on a project like this. You bag and tag and organize everything. Guys, everything is going in a box. Everything is going in a spot. The hood's laid over here. We've got extra parts in here that I'm going to reuse except for the luggage rack. But you know, the fender, I don't want to get rid of anything. Everything's been unscrewed and taken care of in case I need it whenever we start reassembling the car, right? But this is critical. I mean, it really is. Everything is separated. You got the fender top bolts along with the antenna. You know, I've got the hood prop, 2 screws there just for the hood prop. Hood latch is everything you need for the hood latch itself. And top, you know, top support here, front bumper. There's all your bolts and your L-shaped brackets I was talking about for the front bumper, and then so on. So guys, seriously, it's absolutely essential, in my opinion, to keep this kind of thing organized. We're going to be stripping this car pretty much down and rebuilding it from the ground up. I really want to take the time and do this one right and learn my lessons from the blue one. So everything I didn't do on the blue one, I'm going to do on this one. And then later in life, I may go back and have to redo the blue one because, you know. But anyways, that's what we're doing. So let's check out the engine bay. First off, if you were noticing, we got Scott rod panels. Hey! These are like gold right now. Apparently they're back ordered. The company's just behind because of high demand right now. So anyways, somebody on the North Texas Fox Body Club, you know who you are, thank you, reached out to me and saw that I was needing some. So he was kind enough to let his go, and he sold them to me for $175. So thank you so much. So we have 1 here, we got 1 back in the trunk, and we'll be testing. So I'll be doing a separate video just exclusively on Scott rod panels installs. That's it. Alright, so you've all seen this car hole. You see me drive it. I told you it wasn't perfect. Somebody sprayed over it. The paint job is not that bad. You can see here the whole car looks pretty decent whenever I bought it. However, I knew the worst was going to be up in here. Now, as you look at this, the great thing is, as you can see, there is no rust. Okay, hold that thought. I know what you guys are thinking right now. This whole time I've been saying this car is rust-free, and you're looking at it, you probably think I'm absolutely crazy. The contrast with the white paint, the car was originally white, and the surface rust makes it look so much worse. I was editing this a second ago and realized on camera, man, you guys must think I am absolutely nuts. But let me show you, this is actually all nothing but surface rust. It is extremely solid. There is no rust through anywhere, and not even to the point where it's gotten into the metal at all and even thinned it. So this is all extremely solid. I mean, it really is. There's no rust. You can look up close here. Even on this section down here where it's the worst, I mean, this is just simply surface area rust that could all be cleaned and all taken off really easily. So even up here on the firewall, I mean, you're talking about, you know, I mean, this is solid, guys. There's nothing here that's thinning. The only spot that has actually thinned out the metal and lost structure integrity is the section underneath this Scott rod panel that we're going to have to cut and replace. And this is all from battery dripping rot, so that will have to be cut out and replaced. But man, so you guys know I'm not totally crazy here. I keep saying this car is rust free, and you're looking at it like, no, it's not, Mike. I think it's like a piece of crap. But I'm telling you, it's not. It's all very, very solid. You can see down here on the underside, we don't have anything poking through. Nothing is rusted through. The metal integrity is in perfect, restorable shape. And again, I keep talking about how good this car is and how good a shape it's in, and it really, honest to God, is in very, very good shape and is in perfect restoration condition. Okay, that's all. Okay, there's surface rust kind of everywhere, but it's nothing rusted through and there's no damaged metal. So this is a great shape. You can still see remnants of what we have for our mice nest up in here and back in there, and this is kind of stuff we're going to rust proof and put the same kind of rust prevention we put inside the cowl and extend it now that I can get to it all. Okay, so kind of move up here. So the harness, so let's talk about the harness real quick. So I went ahead and removed the harness and got it out of the way. That was the first reasoning of removing the bumper support, so I can pull this big connector for your parking switch out between your buckets here. So this is so much simpler on this car than it was on the 86. If you want to go back and watch a wire tuck on a fuel injected vehicle, go ahead and do this. Now when I talk about wire tucking, what we're talking about here is taking these wires here and running them inside the fender liner so that when you open the engine bay, you see no wires. We're doing that to this car. My blue 86 back here has it done. As you can see here, it has what we call a mini wire tuck where the main engine harnesses and the starter relay and all that stuff is hidden behind the fenders, but the main harness along the back is still there. So you can go full blown and hide that harness, which is what I'm doing. We're gonna do a full wire tuck on the 79, mainly because there's so much less wires. So look at this. This is all you got, man. So this really is it. The whole harness essentially is right here and here. You got everything to run a car vehicle. Again, this is carbureted, of course, 2.3 liter. Real simple, don't need a lot of stuff. So most of this stuff is your headlight harness. So this goes to your driver's side headlight. So I'll have every single connector labeled. And guys, again, this is really essential because when we go back to wire tuck and put this together, I need to know which side's left, which side's right, what goes where. So this is the brights. You got the side marker light, your turn signal, and then you have another main harness that comes along through here. And that goes to your Duraspark or alternator. I can't believe, I think that may be an alternator, but nonetheless, most importantly, you have your main power wire, which is going to power the whole car whenever you turn the key on, and your starter wire. This too would have gone to your solenoid on the firewall on this side. You've got your voltage regulator here, which of course we won't be using. This is an AC switch. This is the fact that the AC harness, the AC plug, these both went to the compressor. We'll be using this because whenever you turn it on in the car, this will get activated and get hot and activate the compressor. So we'll be needing that for the EcoBoost swap right there. And then essentially everything on this side is for the other headlight. So that's really the harness. So we're going to be wire tucking this, getting everything kind of in place, and then doing all the body work and metal work on here. Alright guys, clearly you can see the worst of it is here, and this is because of years of grime and driving just from the engine being in place here, not being washed, etc, etc. So the worst of it you are looking at right here. I'm still not scared to tackle this. We're going to go full ahead and try to get all this down back to bare metal and then getting it really just kind of prepped. So I went ahead and moved the Scott rod panel out of the way just so you can see there is rust right here where the battery tray is set. Now I do plan on relocating the battery to the trunk again to clean up the engine bay, so this does need to be repaired. We're going to have to cut this out and probably cut it right here with some good metal. You can see it actually there's pinch welds throughout this section right here. That'll give me some good metal to weld on, and we could build a new channel through here and replace this metal, and then the Scott rod panel will go over it. So this has to be rust prevention will have to go into here before any kind of panels put in place. So overall, everything's been disassembled. This is your much larger, older style R12 distribution, or not distribution block, but what they call it. It's a valve for your AC system here. I don't know yet. We may have to replace it with a newer evaporator inside of here, that has a dryer along it as well. The dryer on this one is right here, and it's also in the way of any kind of turbo piping. It's right up front here. So probably converting it to power steering, but don't forget the whole K member is going to go away in favor for the AJE K member. So the K member, it just needs to come out along with the sway bar and pretty much everything else front suspension wise. So we can start building up the front of it. But I do want to keep it in place for now, because what I do plan on doing is either sandblasting it or maybe having to take it somewhere to get sandblasted. I'm trying to think of the best way to tackle this. I may do it myself with a wire wheel. It's going to take a long time to do that, but that's fine. But to do it properly, guys, we got to get everything out of here. The brake booster's got to go. We're going to disassemble it and take it out because we're going to be able to put a power booster in. Anyways, this is our stretched out speedometer cable that also needs to be disconnected from the back and then pulled out through here, as well as the clutch cable that I'm not going to be using. So everything needs to come out of here so that we can really get in here and clean it. So yeah, these cars, as they drain through your cowl, crud comes down in here and it gets caught and it gets sandwiched in between your fender and here, and this is why your lower fender almost always rusts, man. You'll get rust bubbles through here. In fact, I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, that side's not so bad, but you'll get stuff crudded up in there like that, and that's why it'll rust. You'll see them rust right here. They'll start bubbling out and rusting. This side I think was worse. Yeah, so see how that side's got a bunch of crap jammed in there from all the mice? So they've loaded up crap in there, so that needs to be removed, needs to be cleaned. It needs to be acid washed, bath, whatever. So the other side of the Scott rod panel there, I went ahead and started doing some paint stripping back here. What I'll probably do on this is we want to save this and restore this. I was curious to see though on how this, you can see that line, paint line right there. I wanted to see how, what this really was. And what I found out was it was paint that had flaked off. So it's not actually rust. I was scared that this bubbling here was actually rust flaking off on the metal itself, but it's not. This ended up being white that had flaked off down to primer or something else. They just painted over it. To further support my theory, you can definitely see how it goes from metal straight to gray right here without the white transition like it does here. So you can definitely see where this line splits. What had happened is the white had flaked off, there was bare metal there, and the car was just plain painted right over bare metal and existing white, where the white just flaked off, and that's why you see these pitted lines here. Now luckily it's not rust going through the metal, but that's exactly what it is. This also shows the history of the vehicle and definitely shows how many paint jobs it's had. It also shows us that the paint that was put on it, the gray, is a single stage paint, because I don't see a layer of clear whenever I sand it through here. So what you can see is the bare metal, of course, from forward. You see a small dark gray line, which is most likely primer. And then you can see the factory white color, and then goes straight to gray. So it shows that the history of this car has only been painted one time over its original white base color. And when they did it pretty quick and pretty cheap, because they didn't prep the car or primer it or bother even filling the separation here between the metal that had flaked, or the white that had flaked off, and prep the bare metal. Also, I've already started removing small parts and restoring them. So since we'll be using everything and everything is complete, we're going to use it. So for instance, this latch, this hood latch, we started scraping the rust off of it, and we're going to get this thing down to bare metal and get a nice fresh coat of paint on it. Same with the bracket here that holds the cable in, the release cable. So what I found out though is I'm really having a problem with the tools I have to get rid of some of these small parts and crevices. I have a wire wheel, and I put these on my wire wheel back here, and it does a great job of removing surface rust. But I might look for a blast cabinet just so I can take all these little bits and pieces and really get the rust off of them, and we can have these rust coated as well, or even powder coated, to bring them back to life, because I really plan on doing every single stupid nut and bolt you can think of in here, guys. So like the nuts or the bolts here have already been kind of cleaned, scraped all the rust off of these, get these kind of prepped, ready to paint as well. So that's kind of the plan. Everything and every nut and bolt in here is going to be cleaned and painted. So like I said, we're going to do it right. I got to take the trim off. I hope to do that tonight. I want to get all the trim off of it and put it somewhere safe, probably put it in the attic. Room right now is a problem. Doing this in the garage, I'm running out of room to put pieces after they're removed. Every night before I close the garage, I got to pull in the bumper and pull in the fenders and sit them here, but also taking time to clean everything. So as you work on it, you know, dust falls, I'll wipe it up, sweep it up to keep my work area is absolutely clean as possible while I go through this process. Okay, so that's kind of what we're doing. So disassembly is fun. If you ask me, it's fun. But if you're new to this and you're starting this, I have a couple tips for you I want to talk to you about right now. All right, what I want to share with you, if you're new to building cars and this is the first time you picked up a project, now for these cars and these Foxes, for a lot of people it's their first big project because they're still somewhat affordable. You know, they're still easily attainable, and a lot of times you get them, they're kind of in a project stage, so you can get it, you know, that's not really a symbol, and you kind of pick up a project. Anyways, my point is, whenever you're doing this, we had a perfectly good running car, and we were starting from a running driving vehicle to how do we make that to a show-ish quality and rebuild it from the ground up. It can be very overwhelming very quickly. Now you hear all the time about people buying projects. They want to do the same thing, they want to do it right. They strip the whole car apart in a million pieces, they put everything up in boxes, and then they get so overwhelmed they ended up selling the car as a project. And you could pick up projects like this all the time because guys are getting overwhelmed and they don't know what to do, and they stress out about it, they financially can't afford it, and then they end up selling. Now look, it's not trying to be discouraging. I have something for you that I do, and financially you could fit a build into your finances any way you want to. I mean, you could put, you know, $100 million into a car. You could put, you know, $5,000. Now it's never going to be cheap. It's never going to be as cheap as you think it is. Okay, it's always going to be more expensive. But hey, look, if it drags out a little longer because of that, because you have to save some more, that's fine. Keep with it. But what is absolutely essential, in my opinion, is whenever you're doing a project like this, is to break it up into sections, break it up into parts. Think of the whole car like a big book, okay? And then you break it up into single little chapters. When you work on that chapter, don't think or worry about the entire build as a whole. Just worry about that one thing, and it'll take you as long as it takes you to get it done. That's okay. It's done when it's done, okay? So like for instance, right now, we are working on the firewall, okay? That's my only worry. Seriously, I know I have to get the K-member in. I know I have to get it ordered. I got to get the suspension on. I understand I have to put the coilovers on it. I understand we got to build brakes for it. A whole new brake system on it, all the way from the pedal back to all four corners. I know I have to. You actually got to put in. I can go on and on and on and on. Okay, it's overwhelming. Okay, if you sit here and think about the entire car as a whole project, it can get overwhelming. But if you just break it up into little tiny pieces and just focus on that one piece, whatever it takes, whatever you need to do to just get that inner fender section done. That little rust section I showed you about that, just focus on that. You know, give yourself soft deadlines, okay? Don't be too hard on yourself if you don't make the deadline, but say, listen, by next weekend, in 4 or 5 days, I wanna have that corner of the engine bay prepped and ready for paint, okay? Rust prevented. That's it. Just do that, and then maybe give yourself the next week to do the other side, okay? And then next time, say on today or this next 2 weeks, all I'm going to do is weld in the scut rod panel, okay? Now I know a lot of people can knock that out in like a day or two, or hours, or just just grinding at it. That's fine. But again, to keep yourself from getting completely overwhelmed, just break it down in pieces, because before you know it, you're going to have every section done the way you want, and it'll be done right. and then you won't be so overwhelmed, and everything will be ready and just kind of slowly come together. So that's my really key takeaway here is whenever you're doing a project like this is not my first rodeo, guys. I've built a lot of cars, stripped them down, and started back up. My Trina was the first one I learned on. And these Foxes can be had still, okay? So if a lot of guys are doing what we're doing here, we're gonna be stripping this car completely down and then building it back up. And my point here is that no matter what section you're working on, don't stress out about it. Don't stress out about the whole car and that your buddies are done taking it to the car show and that, you know, they're out there having fun driving it. I mean, break it up, but consistently work on it, you know? Make time, okay? I don't have a lot of time. I really don't. But give yourself time, even if it's an hour. Say, okay, today I'm just gonna come out and clean the garage. That's it. I'm gonna spend 1 hour, I'm gonna pick up and organize the garage. That's huge. That's huge. It's mentally huge. There's a big mental win because you've reset yourself and you'll get yourself the next day to come out there and maybe just, hey, sand the deck lid. So that's my key takeaway point, guys, is just take it a step at a time, and I promise you this all get done. So stick with me because this is not gonna be a long project. It's gonna take a while as well. So that's it, guys. Hey, we are making progress. Things are coming along. It's moving quick. I'm already having kind of a lot of fun just disassembling this car. It's been fun. Also, I want you guys to know that this is not going to be as much as how-to videos like you did on the blue car. This is going to be more of a series of just updates because I'm going to be hitting this thing pretty full tilt, and I don't want to have to do every single how-tos on every little thing I'm doing. If I think it's something significant that could become a how-to video that I haven't already done on the blue car, then I will do that because I have so many how-to videos already that we did on the blue car. It just seems redundant to do it all twice. So I'll reference some of the videos whenever we're going back to this to the blue car's how-to videos, but otherwise it's going to be mostly just a vlog and updates as the project rolls along. We'll get more in depth in the how-tos when we get started with the actual engine placement and engine control units being put into the car. So hey, listen, that's for it for now. Please stay tuned for all more videos to come. If you like this content, if you're interested in this project, make sure to subscribe and like it because it does help me out significantly, helps the whole channel out. Okay, if you like the House Dooley t-shirts, jump over to the store on YouTube and scroll down and look at the Teespring shirts and try to get you some of those on order, so that is pretty rad. Get you some House Dooley swag. Other than that, we'll see you guys next time.